Well, good evening. I think we should all sing another rendition of I'm Proud to Be an American. Because I gotta tell you, I am proud to be an American. I wanna thank you for inviting me to join you this evening, for the warm welcome. I have had the best time talking to folks and listening to all the amazing things that are going on all over our nation, but particularly the great work that the Job Creators Network is doing. And I have to tell you that the key platforms here are critical to not just win campaigns, but they're critical to the success of our nation. And so those 5 panels today are the 5 pillars to things we need to get done, policies we need to pursue, elections that we need to win. And so I just want to thank the Job Creators Network for all of the work you do. And I particularly, Brad, I want to thank you for hosting dinner tonight. Thank you, Alfredo. Thank you for having me with all these wonderful people. What a fun night. You know, the bottom line is that you are all freedom fighters. And at the end of the day, when we fight for freedom together, we win. Now, I know a little bit about being from a state where there are a few freedom fighters. Just a few. And when you wake up in the morning in a house that was procured by Monroe and walk down the steps and look at a Capitol that was designed by Jefferson, and then look across our Capitol Square and see the most looming, fabulous statue of George Washington, and you take a right and go in the Patrick Henry building, we know a little bit about freedom fighters. And I gotta tell you, thank you for being someone who will stand up for freedom. Now, I understand that you had my good friend, Governor Kemp, with you last night. And I know you heard from him, and I have to say that he is one of my closest governor friends. He and his wife, Marty, are fabulous friends for Suzanne and me. And we spend a lot of time together. In fact, I was just here on Wednesday working on a panel with him as we were really pushing hard in order to progress nuclear power across this country. And I am so respectful of Governor Kemp. He's done a great job. But I keep trying to remind him that the best peanuts in the world are in Virginia, not in Georgia. Now, tonight is a celebration. It's a celebration of the great work of the Job Creators Network. It's a celebration of freedom fighters. But it is bittersweet. It's bittersweet because, as I know all of you are fully aware, this is the first Freedom Fighters Summit not attended by Bernie Marcus. When Bernie passed in November, our nation lost a true giant. There were, are, and will be few men like him. He was truly a pioneer, a visionary, and an inspirer across so many fields. I had a real privilege back in 2023 to go visit with Bernie at his house. It's a meeting that I will always remember and cherish. I listened to him talk about America and the values that America must stand upon, values that we must continue to uphold, values that are the fabric of this great nation. And it was a man who was truly thankful for what America had offered him. Think about that. A story that is one that could only be written here in America, a story about a son of immigrants who worked his way up to become one of the true titans of industry, one of the most selfless philanthropists, someone who pushed entrepreneur thinking, and someone who inspired so many to do more than they thought they could do. Bernie wanted to give back to this country in a way that would change things, transform our future. And he did that in such a remarkable way, including founding the Job Creators Network. And so we all can come together tonight, having benefited from Bernie's vision, his personal kindness, and his love for this most remarkable country, the United States of America. His loss leaves an extraordinary hole that can really never be filled. And therefore, I know we're feeling his absence tonight, and I just want to stop for a minute, and I want to give Bernie Marcus a rousing applause. Now, he would want to be here tonight, and he would want all of us here tonight, because the best way we can honor him is to continue to do the work that he so passionately believed in, that he championed, the values that he held dear, and the ones that we must continue to hold up. And so we're here talking about how can we expand the recent electoral successes for the next generation, for the next campaign, for the next must-win race. Because in case you didn't know, elections have consequences. And the consequences are real. And they can either be consequences that unlock and unleash opportunity and provide pathways for everyone to pursue their dreams and fulfill their God-given destiny, or they can be consequences that put government in front of parents and their children's lives. They can be consequences that steal the hard-working money from families' wallets and give it to governments that waste it. They can be consequences that stand for criminals over victims. They can be consequences that deplete the hope that is at the heart of this great country. That is why elections have consequences. And I am a firm believer that elections must be won. They must be won. And how do we win them? I think we win them because great ideas win. Great policy wins. And our common sense conservative policies and values don't just work, they win. And we just saw this in the last election with the election of President Donald Trump, our 45th and 47th president, with flipping our Senate and maintaining the majority of our House to see Americans come together and make a statement. The statement that we are rejecting liberal extremism and we are embracing common sense conservatism. I don't know about all of you, but I have had so many people who came up to me after November 5th and said, "Whew, I am so glad to know that our country is not crazy anymore." But that's how we felt. We didn't believe that America was heading in this direction where we didn't even recognize her. And I have to say that in these first 100 days of promises made and promises kept, these first 100 days of securing the border, of draining the swamp, of keeping boys out of girls' sports, these first 100 days of making sure that violent criminals are not only being arrested, but those that are illegally here are sent back to where they came from, these first 100 days where we're standing up for Americans' interest in trade policy, these first 100 days where we once again know that America is being led. What 100 days it's been. Common sense wins. Now I have to say it's not the first time that this phenomena has happened. You see, while America was saved in 2024, I believe that we came together in Virginia and saved a state that had been lost, a state that had drifted, the crucible of democracy for our nation where Thomas Jefferson penned those most immortal words, I think the most immortal words in the Western Hemisphere, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that we're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is Virginia. And we looked more like California. Wrong coast, my friends. And of course, in 2021, all the pundits wrote us off again. Republicans can't win in Virginia. But Virginians came together in the most amazing way. The spirit that washed over our country in 1776 was once again alive and well. The spirit that I long to see in my home in Virginia, it rose again. And after 12 years in the wilderness, we proved that common sense conservatism can win in Virginia as well. This spirit matters. And I saw what that spirit can do to people of all backgrounds, from all walks of life. This spirit that reminds them that at the heart of what we do is not a political party. At the heart of what we do is not a particular policy. At the heart of what we do is liberty and freedom and the ability to live the life that each individual wants to live, not one dictated by a government, and even worse, a king or a monarch. And so today, as I have the great privilege of reflecting back on the last 3 years of serving in Virginia, I am reminded that that liberty, that freedom, that moment of recognition that it is my life, not the government's, was at the heart of taking back Virginia. See, a huge part of that movement was the basic belief that parents matter. That parents need to sit at the head of the table of their children's lives. And yes, there's other people at that table, a teacher or a trusted friend or a coach, a pastor. But at the head of that table is a parent. And in Virginia in 2021, parents had had enough. And boy, did they come together in a way that inspired the nation. That not only can parents come together, but it is not a political issue. It is not Republicans versus Democrats. It is Americans standing up as parents saying, that is my child, and I do not co-parent with the government. It is my child. And I remind everyone that there is a fundamental right in America and in Virginia to make those foundational decisions in your child's life, and at the top of the list is everything to do with their education. And I have to say, did parents move? And therefore, my very first day in office, at the top of the list, we went to work. And I signed an executive order that banned divisive teaching concepts in schools, otherwise known as critical race theory, out of our schools now. In a legislature where the Democrats control, we pulled together a group of senators and delegates that would pass legislation that would enable parents to decide that they're going to take the mask off their children in schools and that they're going to take sexually explicit material out of their curriculum. Legislation in blue Virginia empowering parents. My friends, we went to work to overhaul curriculum and raise standards and recognize that children must be able to read by the 3rd grade. They must be able to do arithmetic. That we should make classes harder, not easier. That we should have multiple pathways so that a child who is desirous of going into the military should have an opportunity to go right out of high school or to get a great job if they can earn a credential that is industry recognized, or of course go to a great college. We focus on families. We focus on children, and amazing things happen. Let's enhance our tax-driven scholarships so that children can choose to go to a school that is not their public school. Let's create a whole new kind of charter school called lab schools so that they can navigate through and pick areas of interest. And just this past summer, I issued an executive order to ban cell phones bell to bell out of every school in Virginia. It works. And the great thing is that when Virginia works to elect Winsome Earl Sears as our next governor in November, we are going to pick right back up with the Job Creators Network, and we are going to get educational freedom accounts passed in the Commonwealth of Virginia. But see, at the heart of this is recognizing that it's not policy. It's not one executive order. It is not a law, but it is a foundational belief that families want to live places and vote for representation that understands that it's their life and the many aspects of their life that is most important to represent. And that's why I strive every day to make Virginia the very best place in America to live and to work and to raise a family. And if we can be that, then we are serving 8.8 million Virginians every single day. And by the way, there is stiff competition. I always recognize that, from Virginia down the coast and around to Texas and lots of places in between, it is the SEC of competition for jobs and for families. I was just with Governor Lee from Tennessee and Governor Kemp from Georgia on Wednesday, and we collaborate, but the whole time I'm like, man, I hope that business comes to Virginia, not Tennessee. Come talk to me over here, leave him over there. We must compete. And when we are competing to serve, then we are competing for the right reasons. Being the best place to live matters. And over the course of the last 3 years, we have worked hard to make Virginia the best place to live. And for the first time in over a decade, in 2023, more people moved to Virginia than moved away to the other 49 states. I remind everyone that free will is a thing, that families decide where they're going to live. And we have to make it hard for them to decide to move away. That's for Hugh Hewitt and the Fetching Mrs. Hewitt. And for families to move to Virginia. We have to make sure that people feel safe. And when I came into office, Virginia was at a 20-year high in murder rate. The then Democrat-led state cared more about the criminals than they did the victims. And lo and behold, there's a basic truth. The basic truth is that when you put more badges on the street, crime goes down. When you prosecute the bad guys and put them in jail, crime goes down. And let me tell you, what we've been doing for the last now 8 weeks is when you can partner with a trusted federal government, you can arrest violent illegal immigrants and send them back to where they came from. We also know that in order to be the best place to live, you have to make it affordable. And Virginia was overtaxing their citizens in such an extraordinary way. And I laughed. Why in the world does Virginia collect so much taxes? And the reality is we fully fund so much. And so there's a basic truth, which is it's your money, not the government's. And so over the last 4 years, every year, we reduce, we raise standard deductions, we eliminate, we declare rebates. And today, I signed my fourth budget with another $1 billion of tax relief, bringing 4 years of tax relief to $9 billion. That is real. Meanwhile, we've generated $11 billion of surpluses. That's the people's money, and it needs to go back to them. The best place to work has to be affordable, and it has to be safe. But it has to be filled with great opportunities, because that gives people hope. Best places to work have lots and lots of jobs. And in 2022, Virginia was bottom third in the nation in job growth. We saw businesses lining up to leave. In 2021, 25,000 small businesses shut. They shut because the then governor decided it was more important to close businesses than to open churches. The then governor put them all out of business. And so we had to go to work. We had to go to work and declare, we're open for business. Please open your doors again. But please requires a lot more to get businesses going. We re-inspired innovation. We set a target to have 10,000 high-growth startups during our 4 years. We invited capital into the state and moved from unranked number 8 in the country in capital availability. We deregulated, and we have streamlined 60,000 regulations that have generated $1.2 billion of annual savings for Virginians and companies. My friends, this stuff works. It's the common sense conservative values that we know. But you know what happens when you do all of that? When you're business friendly, you invest in infrastructure, you streamline regulations, and by the way, you want business as opposed to pushing it out. Well, we ended up seeing that 10,000 number met in 2 years. We're at 15,000 of high-growth small businesses, and I think we'll get to 20 over a 4-year period. We have 265,000 more people working today, more than ever in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And we've seen $100 billion of commitments from companies that are expanding, who are already in Virginia, who are moving there. And I have to tell you, my phone's ringing off the hook because those European and Asian companies want to be in America right now, and they want to build here. They want to build here. And I guess I shouldn't give a speech about great places to work without saying CNBC did name us the top state for business in America. Listen, if you're going to be a great place to live and a great place to work, you need to be a great place to raise a family. And at the heart of that is respecting the family and understanding, once again, that parents must sit at the head of the table. And yes, we went to work building an educational foundation on principles, on expectations of excellence, and yes, on providing choices within the school system and outside the school system. But most importantly, we understood that families dream, and they want to be someplace where dreams can come true. My friends, that's not just Virginia. That is America. And that is the America that we have the opportunity to all build together. And that's why the work that you are all doing is so important. It's because so many on the left are trying to reshape our society into something that our founders never intended it to be. They're trying to tear down the pillars that have held up America as that shining city on the hill. They're trying to teach our children how to think, things that aren't consistent with these basic values. And before long, as Ronald Reagan always warned us, we may be just one generation away. And that's why we have to work together in order to build these pillars stronger than ever. We have to do the work here at the Job Creators Network in order to stand strong together and reinforce these beliefs that are the foundation of our nation. This is our work, this is our challenge. Because if we don't do it, then who? If we don't stand together, then who? And the next thing you know, Virginia can look like California. And at the heart of this is recognizing where I started. Elections have consequences. And I have to tell you, we have a winning formula. There is an enormous tent, and we just have to fill it. And the way we fill it is to talk about the things that we believe in, to demonstrate the results for families, and to invite people into the tent. And I have to say the tremendous work that is going on with the Hispanic community across Virginia and the nation is exactly that. I might have a few friends here from Virginia, but we saw it in the election of President Trump. We saw that tent fill up in a way that no one really expected. And yet the basic message of liberty is universal and it is powerful. And everyone understands that they are hungry for it. Everyone, the younger generation is hungry for it. Gen Z is ready for it. Freedom, liberty, values, purpose. That is at the heart of our nation. And we have the opportunity to bring a generation of Americans together in a way that hasn't happened for decades and decades and decades. And I am reminded of a generation of Gen Zers in 1775. These Gen Zers saw a world that could be so much better. And they came together in a way that shocked truly the world. It's hard to be humble when you're from Virginia, when you're talking about our history. And so I want to apologize from those of you that might hail from one of the other 12 former colonies. But when I think about America, I think about made in Virginia. And there was 250 years ago at a church in Richmond called St. John's. And there was a Virginian named Patrick Henry. And there was a war that was getting ready to break out. And Virginians were divided, deeply divided. Should we help the Massachusetts colony? Yes, it was a commonwealth too, but they didn't know one another. Or should we protect ourselves? Should we protect the things we have or stand up for the things we believe in? And on that day, a man stood up named Patrick Henry. And he uttered some of the most immortal words that have ever been spoken in the pursuit of freedom. I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. And at that moment, a vote was cast. A vote to decide whether Virginia would raise a militia and enter the soon-to-begun battles in Massachusetts. A vote that was separated by only 5 people. And that day, liberty and freedom were won for the world. And a man named George Washington put his hand up and said, I will lead that militia, and we will fight, and we will stand, and we will win. That is the spark that you can all see burning across our nation today. But it is a spark that can go out. It is this spark that becomes a flame of revelation that beats in the hearts of our founders, that sustained our soldiers at Valley Forge, that enabled them to win at Yorktown. And that same flame that brought American men alongside our allies onto the beaches at Normandy to liberate Europe from Nazi control, evil like we had never seen. And it's that same flame that we all need to fan and celebrate. But it's also that same flame that we need to fight for. And so as we break this evening after a tremendous conference, I want to encourage you to stand strong, run fast, and believe, because America needs you. And the greatest nation on the earth will continue to be so as long as we all understand that it is our responsibility to collectively to keep her that way. I want to thank all of you for letting me join you. And I want to end with a very simple belief. I believe that God loves America. And I believe that he will continue to bless America. But with that, we have to continue to ask for it. And therefore, may God bless. May he bless you. May he bless the Commonwealth of Virginia. And may he bless these great United States of America. Thank you.
Woo. You would stay on stage a little bit, Governor? Over there, off to the right there a little bit. Oh, right over there. There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Not playing.
He swore he was going to play it. How many of you want to see Governor Youngkin play that?
You do not want to see that.
No, Governor. He was amazing, right, guys? Well, thank you, Governor Youngkin, for that powerful and inspiring keynote. Your words tonight remind us all wise, strong, principled leadership does matter. From the moment you stepped into public office, you brought the same bold, solution-oriented mindset that made you successful in the private industry, in the private sector. And the results speak for themselves. In just a few short years, you've transformed Virginia into a model for pro-growth, pro-business leadership. You've cut red tape, lowered taxes, championed school choice, or universal freedom, as you and I like to say, and defended parental rights. You stood up for law enforcement, protected constitutional freedoms, and made it clear that Virginia is open for business. But even more than your record, Governor, what we admire is your courage to lead with conviction. You don't govern by polls, you govern by principles. And I will tell you, I've had many, many conversations with you one-on-one, and you definitely govern by principles. So it's always a wonderful thing to see a politician actually do that. You recognize that small businesses are not just economic units, they're dreams, families, and the engines of American opportunity. And you've consistently fought to make sure that those businesses are supported, not smothered, by government. At Job Creators Network, we've been proud to work alongside you on several initiatives like the Great Opportunity Project, our small effort to try to rebrand the party from the Grand Old Party to the Great Opportunity Project. I hope we keep doing that, which is all about taking the great work you and other governors are doing at the state level and applying them on a national level. You are the model for the GOP. Tonight is our privilege to honor that work. On behalf of the Job Creators Network, if I could grab that, thank you. It is my honor to present you with a Bernie Marcus Freedom Fighter Award for all of your hard work that you've done across the country and for our party. Thank you so much, Governor.